This one's about a 33-year-old man. We'll call him Randy. Now, Randy loved music. All his life, music was his thing. But his love of music could not explain why on the morning in question, Randy woke up with a song in his head. What made this so unusual was, to Randy's recollection, he'd never heard the song before. And to make the strange even stranger, the song was not only in Randy's head, it was in his ears too. Now, a cool jazz saxophone riff should have been nice, but this riff was loud, playing over and over and over, making it nearly impossible for Randy to even think. In the morning when he woke up, he asked his girlfriend to turn the music down. She wasn't playing any music. Then it must be coming from next door, he said, fairly agitated. She had no idea what Randy was talking about. Are you telling me you can't hear that saxophone? Sweetheart, she said, are you okay? That's when Randy knew there was something abnormal going on. Should he call a doctor? He'd heard stories of people hearing voices or music in their ears, winding up having brain tumors. He didn't want to alarm his girlfriend, so he told her the music had stopped. But it hadn't, leaving Randy to get more worried by the moment. He had a meeting with his friend Malik scheduled that day that he did not want to miss. So despite the cacophony in his ears, Randy got dressed and went out. Now here's where it gets downright mysterious. As Randy was walking down Prospect Avenue on his way to meet up with Malik, the music suddenly stopped. Woo! What a relief, Randy mused. He could finally get his thoughts together. He had no idea what had caused the abnormality, but he was glad it was over. And then, as he was walking past that old bar that had gone out of business several years ago, Randy heard the song again. But this time, it wasn't in his ears. That song that Randy had never heard before was coming from inside the boarded-up establishment. Randy stopped out front and tried peering inside through a crease in the boards that covered the windows. But the old glass was so mucked up with dirt and grime he could not see inside. Randy noticed the door to the place was ajar. Curiosity getting the best of him, Randy pulled the door all the way open. And now the song came spilling out. Hey, Randy called into the abandoned bar. What song is that you're playing? There was no answer, so Randy stepped inside, and the moment he did, the music stopped. Once inside, the stale stench of mildew, spilled liquor, and lost time greeted him. What was once a lively neighborhood bar now sat cloaked in dust and shadows like a memory nobody wanted to revisit. Hello, he called out as he ventured further in. The once polished wood bar was now scarred and sticky from the ghost of spilled drinks. It was covered in layers of grime with glass rings etched into its surface. Behind the bar, a grunge-covered mirror reflected nothing but darkness, as empty liquor bottles sat on shelves gathering cobwebs like trophies from another life. A cough pulled Randy's attention to the old stage where live music was once played on weekends. Torn speaker wire hung like veins from the ceiling above the stage. There was a rusted microphone still fixed to its stand, and in front of that mic sat an old jazz man of about 60. He had a white beard, wore a pork pie hat, and he was holding a saxophone. Hey, I heard you playing. What song is that? Randy called. The jazz man looked up and scoffed. Why, you want to know? Now, there was no way Randy was going to tell this stranger that that song he'd never heard before had been playing in his ears all morning. Randy explained he just liked it is all. "They call me Godfrey," the man said. That was intriguing to Randy because he once had an uncle named Godfrey. He gazed at the faded poster clinging to the wall next to the stage advertising weekend jazz. A younger version of his Uncle Godfrey fronting a combo was featured there. That's when Randy got the weirdest feeling. It started as a tingle in his belly. This conversation was getting eerie. Something told him it was time to go. Randy turned and started rapidly for the door. "You know who wrote that song?" Godfrey called. "You did." Randy stopped dead, turned back, and faced the old man. He did not know what was going on there in that abandoned bar, but he made up his mind he had to find out. He told Godfrey he had an uncle named Godfrey, and that was his uncle's band in the poster on the wall. But his uncle died a long time ago, in prison. "You my dead uncle?" Randy asked, not sure he wanted to know the answer. Instead of answering, Godfrey countered with his own question. "You don't remember that song?" he asked. "You wrote it for a jazz competition 10 years ago, and you won." All of a sudden, the memories came flooding back. How Randy had followed in his uncle's footsteps, how he had mastered the tenor sax by the time he was 16, how he had a life of promise in front of him before he turned to a life of crime. Randy, whose father was never there for him, finally remembered the time with his uncle when he was young. He cherished that time all the way until his uncle Godfrey got arrested for murder and went to prison. In that moment, Randy looked at the life he'd been leading and realized he'd been following Godfrey, his father figure, and just like his uncle, he turned to a life of crime. Randy had been on his way to meet Malik to divide up the loot from a burglary they'd pulled the day before. But now he understood why he was hearing the song and why it had led him there. "You're my guardian angel," Randy said. And standing in that abandoned bar where his uncle played amazing jazz many years ago, Randy shed a tear, more for himself than for his uncle, because he had a sudden moment of clarity where he realized he'd been doing wrong and that he needed to turn his life around. It was still time. "Thank you," he whispered softly. "I do remember the song, and I remember you. You're here to offer me salvation, aren't you?" Godfrey smiled, but it wasn't the sweet smile Randy was expecting. This was a dark smile, a toothy grin. He chuckled. "Randy, my boy," he said, "salvation is only offered to the living." At the moment he finished that sentence, a loud rumbling sprang up in the place. The walls began to change. Randy was now in a dark void. No bar, no stage, just him, Godfrey, and darkness. Godfrey explained to Randy that on the previous day, a homeowner walked in on he and Malik burglarizing his home. While Malik got away, the homeowner shot Randy. He died on his way to the hospital. "I'm the collector of souls," Godfrey said. "Come on now." Randy turned to run, but honestly, there was no place to run to. He was dead. It was over. It was time to face the music, so to speak. When Randy turned back, he saw that Godfrey had been joined by his combo from all those years ago. They began to play. And as they played, all of them, including Randy, began to slowly descend into the abyss. As Randy made his descent, he lamented a life that could have been. He wished he could tell his mother and his girlfriend he was sorry and that he loved them. Perhaps he'd get to see them again sometime on the crossroads.